With the way
It was.
things
It
are
must
done
have.
in
It
the
must
youth
have been
council,
tough.
yeah, I mean, it's the
Wow.
toughest experience I've ever had.
Wow.
Both running the election and running the office are my toughest experiences in life. You understand?
Yeah.
Um, because the, it was a very complex system.
Hmm.
They've been having this crisis for a very long time. There was a time a minister was removed simply for manipulating the youth council elections. That's how sensitive it is. You understand? Politicians from all aspects of life and interest groups would be throwing their own interest, saying that they're supporting this, they're supporting that for certain reasons, because this is the guy who's going to support their bid when the time comes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that has been really the case. That's one aspect of the complex. The second aspect of it is based on our reality in Nigeria,
Mm.
tribal lines, geopolitical lines,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so on. You understand?
Yeah.
I was very, very dismayed when I found out how the votes were divided.
Mm.
Because, I mean, the North is a block on its own,
Yeah.
Southwest is a block on its own,
Yeah.
Southeast is a block on its own, South
They're
South is a
they're
block
like
on its own.
they're like they're like countries on their own, right?
Yeah,
Sokoto
you see,
itself is like a nation.
yeah, yeah. Look, the Youth Council itself is just a complete reflection of the Nigerian state,
Wow.
which is
Yeah.
unfortunate
Hmm.
because we are talking about the future, the
Hmm.
younger generation, which means even if these ones are gone and they got to be the leaders of tomorrow, the same thing is going to be happening.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that, I'm sure, later. But let me
Definitely.
finish telling you about this story.
Yes,
So
please.
the election was put in.
Hmm.
Are you there?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm still here.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, I had to create an alliance with the Southwest
Okay.
to add up to my vote, and we did a consensus. And one of them, who was running for president, stepped down for me to be my secretary general.
Wow.
And then, yeah, and then we had the other alliances. You understand? A few votes here and there, and I won that election with only 11 votes.
Wow.
The total vote count was 512.
Okay. And is it
Yeah,
only and is that across the whole nation, or is that just people
it's, it
involved in
is
the council?
it is it is across the whole nation. Every state has 3 votes. It's like a delegate vote.
Okay.
Every state has 3 votes,
Every state
and
has
there
three votes. Okay.
are youth organizations that are affiliated to youth council, directly affiliated, almost 105 of them, and every one of them has 3 votes.
Okay. Okay. That
So
makes
you
sense.
have to rally around all these organizations, rally around all the states. Of course, throws a few things here and there, because you never would win the election by just selling your ideas.
Yeah.
However, what I'm proud of is that um, we all went with some money. You understand that definitely that's the tradition. You understand? You just
Mhm.
have to give here and there. We went with some monies, but I mean, there's one other candidate who went with much more money than I went with. I mean, he
Okay.
had a commissioner with him. His governor sent him a commissioner to come and watch him through and see him through and make sure that he wins. You understand?
Wow. Okay.
Nevertheless, for the first time, and mind you, among all the contestants,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps I'm the only one who was within the youth range that is acceptable in Nigeria. You understand, at
Oh,
that time.
yeah.
So, but somehow I was able to convince the younger people who were sent as delegates to go and cast those votes. Some of
Wow.
them even went against the instructions that were given to them to vote me, because I was able to sell myself
Wow.
as somebody who's coming to do something new. You understand?
Yes,
And they
sir.
all wanted something new because they're tired of everything that has been happening in the past.
Despite being offered money by this
Yeah,
other
yeah,
gentleman that had more money than you had.
yeah. They will
Okay.
collect their monies and they will vote who they want, which
Mm.
is at least a good step forward. It's
Somebody
a good
just said,
step.
it's not bribe, it's mobilization. And I think
Okay.
that's key. I think that's key. What you're saying now is that you were able to mobilize the young people and pass your philosophy to them, right?
If I say it's a mobilization, I'm just trying to be politically correct. This is a, I mean, this is a moment when you are given your experience, you are trying to pass knowledge. People should know.
Yeah.
There are people who you mobilize.
Mm.
There are people who you mobilize, but there are
Yeah.
people who you give monies because you want their votes.
Okay. Okay.
I'll come to
Okay.
that. Remind me later
I'll highlight that
when we are
there are
talking about
people.
corruption.
Yeah.
You understand?
Write that down
Because
for me. There are people
mm,
who you mobilize, and there are people who you pay because you want their votes. So there's two sets of
exactly,
people. Write that down for
exactly.
me. Okay.
I just have been able to cite the person who made that comment. He's one of the people who supported me. I never gave him any bribe. I mobilized him. He came and he supported me. You understand? In
Mhm.
fact, I never even knew him well. But he worked for me. So
Yeah.
there, I feel he's feeling misrepresented. So he's not the type of people I'm talking about. But there are
Okay.
people that you have to give money here and there. But
Okay.
but I mean, my money didn't rescue me. You understand? But it only
Yeah.
says to them, our own mentality here in Nigeria, it only our own culture, it only says to them that I'm not greedy or I'm not unkind or so that it only says to them that I'm generous, that I can
Yeah.
help, I can give. That's
Okay.
the only language that speaks.
Okay.
So I was able to win. And once I won, in fact, I won against the wishes of the youth council, what do you call them? Establishment.
Okay.
Because there are a few people who felt that the youth council is their own personal belonging, that it
Mm.
belongs to them.
Yeah.
You understand? So
Yeah.
they do whatever they want to do with it. They put whoever they want to put. They remove whoever they want to remove. And they
Hmm.
had a candidate. That's the candidate with a lot of money, and I won against him.
And he's
So
much older than you.
yeah, he's much older than me. He's not even a
Okay.
youth. You understand?
Yeah.
And so I won against him to their surprise, and it shocked them.
Wow.
I mean, it showed they were very shocked that I
Wow.
won.
Yeah.
So that was when my trouble starts because they
Mm.
made it their lifetime objective to make sure that they frustrate me.
Wow.
So I started fighting battles from thence till the day I left that office. I was fighting battles,
Wow.
battles, battles, battles. I lost my vision. I couldn't achieve even more than 20% of everything that I thought I would achieve. But at
Wow.
least I'm glad that I achieved a few things and I'm happy with my achievements so far
Wow. What would you say the toughest experience was in the time of being
in
in
Europe
these
and other developed places.
countries? Yeah. So it's
So
contextual. It's contextual to where one lives.
exactly it is. So the former African Nigerian youth national youth policy
Yeah.
recognizes youth to be 35, just like the African Youth Charter. But
Mm.
recently, the Nigerian government, through the Ministry for Youth and Sports Development, have brought it to 29. Well, it's just a policy.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
So, but we have been questioning that policy. I'll come back to that as well.
Yes, sir.
Let's go
Okay.
back to the main issue
Yeah.
before we, I mean, deteriorate. So,
Yeah.
he was claiming to be the chairman of the youth council.
He was claiming, or he
Yet,
was.
I'll never believe he is because he's not even a youth. It's
Yeah.
a matter of accepting. I haven't accepted.
Yeah.
He needs to have this acceptability. You
Mm.
understand? Credibility. We have to give him what do you call it? This mandate.
Okay. Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
question is, who has given him the mandate? You understand?
Who was giving him the mandate to speak on behalf of young people?
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
In a time where we yearning for youth inclusion, in a time when democracy is thriving, you understand?
Yes, sir.
You don't just bring somebody and tell us that he
And
is
just dump them there.
Exactly. It doesn't happen like that.
Okay. Okay.
So we began to ask questions.
Yeah.
So I decided to contact the national leadership, and we sent a petition to them saying that this is not going to happen. In fact, we're not going to accept it.
Wow.
And the worst part of it is that they are not even interlinked. There's no good network between them, between the national level and the, everybody is just, they were just acting like a federation. Everybody was just
Wow.
doing
Doing
whatever
their
he
own
wants.
thing.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. So when we contacted them, they decided to sit down and say that it was not going to be acceptable because we made it very public. We went to the media and we made a lot of noise. We took to the streets in Sokoto State. We did
Yeah.
a lot of protests, and then they decided that they're going to appoint me as the caretaker chairman in
Caretaker
Sokoto State.
chairman.
Yeah, in order that I would be able to stabilize the youth council there and then organize an election that the young people would select their own leader, because the organization has its constitution.
Yeah.
So there are guidelines
Okay.
which they were not following. And what we got to understand is that the youth leader was actually appointed by the state government at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's
just politicians.
so that's not actually a representation of young people. That's just an appointment.
No.
Okay.
It was just an appointment. And they were arguing because even at that time, even when we did what we had to do, they refused to allow us to operate, saying that they still recognize the former youth council. So it became like a faction. We were running one one, and they were running the other. So we continued like that, and then because we knew we were right, and then because the ones that were appointed by the government had turned it into a business life. You understand?
Wow.
Everything that is meant for the youth through the budget and so on, they use it for whatever they want. They give whoever they want the opportunities that they want. You understand? Everything is just with them. They don't even consult with anybody. They don't do things the way they're supposed to be done. They just been, autocratic and been selfish about everything.
Yeah.
So we were running it side by side, and then I tried to create a website for the youth council. Did a lot of publicity, went to the radio, to the TV stations, on social media, did a program on drugs and community violence, so on and so forth. So I raised a lot of awareness to the extent that even as a state chairman, I was almost overshadowing the effort, the activities of the national body, because they too weren't doing anything.
Wow.
They weren't really doing anything. The only thing they were involved in is politics. And when I say politics, I mean everyone else is a politician. Everyone else should be involved in politics. Youth council itself is political, but it's not partisan. That's where the line is drawn. You understand? You cannot be partisan.
You cannot be partisan to be part of the youth council. It's just the
youth
interest
council
of young people.
Exactly. So the youth council is more or less an umbrella body for all youth organizations, which should serve as assist the government in policy formulation and implementation. And that is very clear in the constitution of the youth council.
And
if there is a ministry for youth,
sorry to cut you. And the youth council actually operates in all 36 states and 774 local governments.
It does. Wow. In every state, it has a chairman. In every local government, it has a coordinator.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's supposed to wherever there is a ministry for youth, the youth council is supposed to serve as the implementing body of that ministry of youth in the state and at the federal level. So we have a budgetary, allocation in the budget of the ministry, which says the National Youth Council of Nigeria, and this is what you should do with it. And when you're expending your money, you should expend it through the National Youth Council of Nigeria. That's what the youth policy says. You understand?
Yeah.
So before the year ran out, when we started that agitation, and we succeeded in Sokoto, even though we didn't have the full cooperation of the government, but we were not working for the government. So we didn't really need the government to have to accept it before we end. And we were just resisting what we thought was wrong as a form of protest. So, we had to do it anyway. So before the year ran out, even the national level itself was having so many troubles. There were factions and so on and so forth. So, but they came to a consensus where they decided that they were going to hold an election.
Yes, sir.
So I immediately bought the form. I thought that what we had done in Sokoto State, we could do it at the national level. And I thought that this publicity I've been able to create for the Youth Council at the state level, I would be able to do it the same or something similar at the national in the national scale. You understand? Just to awaken our young people up, which I did, and miraculously won.
The toughest. If you can share it.
I don't know if I can be precise, but I can remember this one. Experiences. You understand? There was a time when a vote of no confidence was planned against me.
Wow.
And this was actually orchestrated by some people in the government.
Wow.
That is after election, when some of them insinuated and claimed that I was working for the opposition of the government. I was working against the government, which was a lie. It was just one of the political tactics. All of us will be removed.
Wow.
You understand? All of my ex-co will be removed, which nobody has the power to do so anyway. But they because that's how before I came, they believed them. You understand? So I will tell you something I did. I'm not very proud of it. I shouldn't have done it. But if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't have survived. You see, he rallied all of my ex-cos, and then kind of what do you call it? Kind of convinced them that was the case.
Okay.
So, but I was doubting it a lot. So I decided to start also looking for support from them. And most of them didn't want to support me, except those who came from the north, the same region that I came from. You see, this is one of the saddest problems that we have, that it has now become an issue of sentiments. You understand? So those who came from the north thought that, of course, like it might be a plot against a president just because I'm from the north. So I capitalized on that, and I okayed their support. And with their support and a little bit of the support of some of my friends, one of them from the south, one of them from the southeast, we were able to spoil that plan of passing what do you call it, vote of no confidence against me. So it failed. It failed woefully. But before it failed, we even had a confrontation in a meeting. I mean, I was chairing the meeting. Can you imagine when a vote of no confidence is trying to be passed on you while you are chairing the meeting? Does it make sense? So I mean, and
whilst you were chairing the meeting, they were trying to pass a vote of no confidence.
Exactly. And this meeting was held in the Ministry for Youth and Sports Development.
Wow.
With the director of the ministry present. You understand? And the director even made it clear that yes, he's here to protect the interest of the government.
By removing
you. By removing me. And one of the things, one of the problems that we have is the ministry itself. The ministry itself has been, the Youth Council is together. You understand? They contribute to the crisis of the Youth Council. Why? Because there are so many opportunities that are meant for the youth of this country, but they hijack them to use them for their own personal gain. So once the Youth Council is together, they don't get to do that.
Okay,
so
to
them, the more the Youth Council is in trouble, the better for them.
So the Youth Council actually has, let's say, for example, a budget. They have a vision, a mission, something that they plan to do for a year or a period of time.
We have objectives. We have objectives. A lot of things. Yeah.
Okay.
We're just like a government.
Just like your own government. But what happens is people have their own personal interests, and because of that, what's meant for the National Youth Council is actually taken by those politicians and used for their own personal gain.
Yes.
So then it looks like your government isn't doing anything.
Yes, brother, let me tell you something. When this new minister came, Honorable Sunday Dare, we are expecting a lot of,
If that's the
we
minister and
expect,
commissioner in Lagos, right?
no, the one in Abuja, the Minister for Youth and
For
Sports.
youth and sports. Okay.
He's the
Okay.
new minister. We expected a lot from him. We expected him to do things differently. He has even started. But when he came, he even told us that the young people of this country have more than £1 billion
Wow.
in the budgets of other parastatals and ministries and agencies that we are supposed to utilize, but we are not able to utilize them because of the crisis in the Youth Council.
1 billion
So
naira.
beyond billions,
Wow.
above £1 billion, you understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, these are monies that some people are taking advantage of. So if the Youth Council is at one, and with the kind of approach that I came with, I was not ready to be involved into any grand corruption.
Yeah.
You understand? And I was being seriously, what do you call it? Seriously transparent with my activities. It was going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So they'd rather that the Youth Council is in shambles, is not at one, so that they can continue doing what they've been doing. So that's the problem. So you see, it's really unfortunate. A lot of things, there are a lot of, there are a lot of factors that are making the youth not to be at one, especially in Nigeria, as it is.
Wow. Just moving on a bit swiftly, do you think that young people genuinely have the capacity to obtain office and to be in government? Because a lot of the time we can hear, young people need to be in government. We hear the words youth inclusion, not too young to run. We're young, we need to be in power. But the real question is, do young people actually have that ability? From what you've seen, you worked with young people, you mobilized with them. Honestly speaking now, do they actually have the capacity for office in Nigeria?
The question is, which of the young people are you talking about? Are you talking about the educated, privileged young people, or you're talking about those young people who didn't have proper education, who see corruption as a means of survival? You understand? Because there are young people who would never survive. They think, that's what they think. I'm not telling the fact. We could survive. Everyone can survive without corruption, but they feel that they can never survive without corruption. Talking about capacity, as a Nigerian youth in general, of course we do have the capacity. I mean, you can see how young people are thriving in other, in other fields. You understand? Apart from politics.
Yeah.
We have very successful entrepreneurs, successful entertainers that are even competing globally. You understand? So I mean, that demonstrates the kind of energy and the kind of capacity that the young people have, Nigerian young people have. So we have the capacity.
I think,
but what is happening is that those who have the capacity to govern, young people who have the capacity to actually be in political positions, aren't interested in politics. It's seen as a place where if you don't know what to do, or you don't know how to make money or whatsoever, and you just jump into politics. You understand? Just like teaching in Nigeria. Teach become a job for those who couldn't find a better job. So, but let me just give you an example. Those who couldn't find a better job, most of them are just not privileged, even though they are qualified. But some of them are because they don't even have good grades. So if those who don't have good grades are the ones who are filling our classrooms as teachers, what would happen to our students?
They would also replicate the same standard of...
So the same thing is happening to politics. The best of us are not in politics. The worst of us are in politics. Just a few of us.
Interesting. So two things you said there. Well, one thing you said, your positions in their industry, but why is it that we can't do it in politics? I've got a suggestion. I've got one suggestion. Is it because of the current notion of African leaders in general that just believe that young people are useless, for example, or young people don't have anything to say? So if you're older, you're going to be taken more seriously. Whereas if you're younger, you're just seen as, what do you have to say anyway? Let's just give him a commissioner of sports or a commissioner of youth. Like, he doesn't really have much to say.
Yeah. Well, I think we in Africa we have this culture of. In fact, there's this saying that what an older person what he can view, a young man, even if he climbs a mountain, he cannot view. But my mother disagrees with that. She is the first person who is an elderly who I've heard disagree with that, because she said her idea is that we are in the 21st century. You understand? The reason why it was so, she said that yes, it was so, and the reason why it was so is because before you acquire a certain amount of knowledge, you must have gone through a lot before. You understand? In the past, you must have gone through education, read a lot of books, because before you even have access to those things, you must have gone through so many things. But we have come to an age where Google has everything. So, I mean, young people learn fast, so quick, and they get to know things that they wouldn't have been able to know at their age if it were not because of the digital age. So things have changed. You understand? The only experience still matters, but whatever. I mean, you would see a lot of young kids of 9, 10, 11, 12 doing so many things that will make your mind boggle. You understand? You'll be wondering how they even got to acquire such skills, because there is internet. Knowledge is everywhere. I mean, I used to say that this is the generation that have the most educated, ignorant people. You understand? They're educated, but yet ignorant. Ignorant because they are misled. They are not able to think for themselves. Educated because they have everything else that they need to learn. They know how to read, they know how to type, they know how to do all this stuff, but yet they're not using it the right way. So I believe it's a wrong notion, and we have already proved it wrong. You understand? With the success of these young people I'm telling you about. You understand? And I've told people that nothing contemporary can make you anything extraordinary. So you can't continue following the contemporary means of doing everything. It's not about finishing school and finding a job somewhere. It's about finishing school and pursuing your passion and creating a job for yourself and others. Things have changed. I mean, we cannot depend on government for everything. You understand? And that dependence on government, on our parents and other relatives, it is what is causing this, the degradation for the young people.
Young people need to stop depending on the government. They need to get up and do what they know.
They can't continue like that. We can't. You see, when you look at the American example.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah,
have young people ever been able to depend on the government? Has the government ever done anything for young people in Nigeria that we should say they should stop?
Yes.
Well,
but not.
Is there any young person on this live right now? Is there any young person on this live right now that can say the Nigerian government in Nigeria has helped them?
Yes. I'm about to explain. I'm about to explain why I say yes. When I say yes, I'm not talking about young people today. Our first generational leaders, everyone who has come after 1960, has enjoyed government privileges from school. But things have changed. The government cannot do that anymore because the population has grown. And the government does not have the capacity to do that for everyone. At that time, the government was looking for people to work in government. The government was eager to see that people have graduated so that they could work for them. So I think this generation of leaders who have enjoyed those privileges have failed us, the next generation. Because what the government expected of them at the time when it helped them is that they will turn around and do the same thing to us.
For the next generation, okay.
In the next generation, because in the
Yeah.
future, it won't be able to handle it alone.
Yeah.
You understand?
So they were
But
supposed to go through those experiences and pass
exactly,
them down to the next generation. But what they did was they kept it for themselves. And now the young
exactly.
people are having to fight for themselves.
Yes, unfortunately, and they created a bad culture because
Mm.
we are still, as young Nigerians, we are still trying to be dependent on the government. We are
Okay.
still waiting for government for everything else.
Wow.
That's what I'm trying to. Let me tell you a story. You see,
Mm.
in other nations, developed nations, let me give America as an example because America grew up before the eyes of a lot of historians, recent
Yeah.
historians.
Mm-hmm.
So America was not built by the government.
Mm.
Most of the infrastructure of America was not built by the government.
Yeah.
It was built by entrepreneurs
Yeah.
who innovated so many things
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
in entrepreneurial competition.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the kind likes of Andrew Carnegie, Rockefellers, and the rest of them.
Rockefellers,
Things
Rothschilds, yeah.
they've created. You know, they've created things that have changed the world, not just America. And they changed America forever because when Americans are growing up, they're not thinking of getting employed by the government or they're not waiting for government to build a bridge for them. They're thinking of how they can create a job and add
Create
value to their
jobs, add
society,
value
how they
to
can create
society.
something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But let me tell you the case of Nigeria. It's not our fault, you understand? But we
Mm.
have to wake up from that.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, government built everything.
Okay.
We started with a government that is responsible for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we do. Government was even responsible for our religions.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
It's an extent that if you want to go to pilgrimage, government will pay for it.
Wow. But I just feel
Exactly.
like that, like you young to run, Bill. I thought that's what happened. But of course, Nigerians are not too young to run, but they are too poor to run. That's
You
the
know,
issue. And they're too poor to run
I'm seeing
because they're lazy.
petitions. I'm seeing
Mm.
petitions in the comments. People are thinking that we are saying they're lazy.
No, we're not saying they're lazy.
I'm just trying to clarify that.
Mm.
It is not, like I said, yes, it can be described as a lazy generation, but it is not the fault of the generation that it has found itself in that situation. It's
Yeah.
circumstantial. You understand? This
Mm.
is not our fault. I mean, this is how we've been programmed to behave and to do things. So it is not actually our fault, but it is our responsibility to get out of that situation. That's the
So,
difference. And they're not too young to run. You know, that movement was an inspiration, not just for Nigerian youth, African youth in general. It speaks a lot of, volumes in our ability and capacity to stand up for something and attain it. You
mm-hmm.
understand?
Yeah.
And the Not Young to Run has achieved a very important objective of ensuring youth inclusion in government. This is just to say, so a lot of people are saying it's not an achievement, but I mean, having your basic right being given to you is an achievement. They claim that being involved is a basic right. Yes, but to attain that basic right, if it's not given to you, it's an achievement.
Mm.
So we have been able to get that right, but yet we have not removed the barrier that is stopping young people from being involved into the Nigerian politics.
Yeah.
Most of which has to do with funding. You
Yes.
understand? The funding of political parties. I mean, political campaigns and so on. You understand? There's still a
Mm.
barrier. To be involved in Nigerian politics is very,
You know,
very expensive,
and I've,
outrageously.
I've said this many times. I've spoken to a few other leaders, and I've said this many times that a young man can have the capacity to want to get into politics, have the ability, the right philosophy, and the right leadership acumen to get into office.
Mm.
But the issue would then be, where does his funding come from? And that funding will then come from somebody who is, let's say, a godfather or a businessman.
Definitely.
And then from there, that young man's ideology is thrown out the window because he then becomes a puppet.
Honestly,
So,
honestly, honestly. And if you don't get that support, you can hardly make it. And you have it, it's a debt that you have to pay. The debt of loyalty to them, You understand? And not to the cause, not to the mandate that was given to you, which is a very, very huge problem. You
Yeah.
understand? And in Nigerian politics, even if you succeed in launching your campaign and so on, the question is, it's about democracy. If you are the candidate, who are the voters? You understand?
Yeah.
Democracy is based upon ideals and ideas, manifestos. Who can read and understand these manifestos? Someone who is educated.
Yeah.
So what happens to the majority who are not educated, who I believe are the majority? What happens if you are trying to sell yourself as somebody with with great ideas, progressive ideas, and so on, and you have somebody who can just easily use sentiments, whether religious, ethnic
Okay.
sentiments, to tap into to their emotions?
So the issue is that you may have great ideas, but do the people understand them?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think somebody asked a question there, and a lot of people are asking me to give it to you. The question was,
Okay.
does every society deserve the leaders they have? I think that was the question. Does every society
uh,
deserve the leaders they have? And if that's the case, do
every
Nigerians
I
deserve the
think
leaders they have?
we can say that to every democracy, because it's about numbers. You understand? It means if you have a leader and who has been elected, he's been elected by, she has been elected by the majority, and that majority comes from that immediate society. Yes, of course, which means they deserve it. But I always try to draw a distinction with the Nigerian context. We cannot say that the Nigerian society in Nigeria deserves every leader that they voted, because this is just what we are talking about. The question is, were they properly sensitized before undergoing this democratic process? That brings to the question to whether Nigerians in general are even ready for democracy or not when it came.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay. Yeah, I
I'm not
understand that.
I'm not discrediting, democracy. Democracy is the best system available. However, it has its own shortcomings. Yeah, I started talking about it, and I give reference to the concept of democracy itself. And it's also good to also know every leader in a particular society is a product of the society.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So most of these leaders, whether good or bad, are just being responsive to how the society shapes their thinking. They're being influenced by their own. We are not being led by aliens. We are being led by our own kind.
Yeah.
You understand? So I think that is the case.
So, in other words, society does deserve, because at the end of the day, the leaders come from amongst the people. They didn't drop from the sky. They didn't come. They're not aliens. They are Nigerians or they are Americans, and they've come from amongst the people. So they do
Exactly.
deserve.
Meanwhile, I give an exception with saying that we wouldn't say that this applies to every society, depending on the level of understanding of that society of the concept of democracy. Because
Okay.
just because we say every leader is a product of a society, it doesn't mean that if it's a bad leader, then it's a bad society. It doesn't. It's not like that. We have bad and good people in every society. You
Okay.
understand? So
Yeah.
what if we have the wrong person who will, succeed in deceiving the generality of people who don't have the good understanding of democracy, and then he tricked them into voting them? You see, we can't fault those kind of people, because in the first place, they haven't even understood the concept of democracy itself.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Moving on swiftly. I hope that answered whoever asked that question. I hope that answered your question. But what I'll ask next is, so what is next for you? Where do you go next? What's next? What's on the agenda? I would love to know. What's
Well, what
next?
I've done,
What should we expect from you?
after leaving Youth Castle is to get back to my business, documentary filmmaking, because I mean, it has, since I started youth council, it has put a pause to my business. Been doing much in that aspect, so I thought that I should focus on it and wait to see if any other opportunity will present itself. And also working side by side with other organizations and individuals to see ways we can contribute towards the development of our immediate society, to keep advocating for young people of this on behalf of the young people of this country, since we have a voice, and to keep sensitizing the young people of this country to understand their needs and their rights in this country. Something that I wanted to talk about before we leave, since we have very little time before we are done, is how tribalism, ethnicity, and regional differences has ruined us as young Nigerians.
Just to stop you there, I would call that I call that a big evil in Nigeria.
It is.
I call that a big evil. That's what I call that.
Perhaps
and I love the fact that you touched on that.
Perhaps. Yeah, perhaps because you know, we lack trust. We don't trust one another, and as if we are not humans. I mean, you're black, I'm black. We all Africans. If someone who is non-African should cite me and you cannot tell the difference.
Yeah.
But to Nigerians, we have a serious distinction. I came from the core north, you came from the core south, and it means so much to them, and it shouldn't. Because first of all, we are Africans. Second of all, we are human beings. I mean, first of all, human beings. Second of all, we are Africans. You understand? And we didn't make the choice. I mean, we were not given the choice whether to be born in the north or in the south, or Muslim or Christian.
Yeah.
It was all circumstantial. You understand? And we can respect each other and move on and work with one another. Nigeria is not beyond coming together and working together. We have seen America is very diverse. The United States, India is diverse. A lot of other diverse countries. The only difference with those kind of nations with Nigeria is that Nigeria is a developing nation, and it's difficult for a developing nation to come together at once. We are making progress. You understand? But it is the serious distrust of domination that we have had in the early beginning, that the Northerners have had against Southerners that has had against the Northerners. It is what has kept us like that till today. And we cannot afford it. This generation cannot afford tribalism. It cannot afford religious discrimination. It cannot afford blaming one another. You understand? There are Northerners that I know that if they have whatever problem they have now, they blame it on the Southerners. And there are Southerners I know that whatever problem they have, they blame it on the Northerners. And instead of them coming together and looking at the status quo as the problem, which is actually the real problem, because the status quo comes together, they unite, and they perpetuate, evil against the rest of Nigerians. They ought to understand that. We ought to understand that we can come together as young people to work together and seek for a better Nigeria. We have the same.
Is the connection bad? Okay. I think the connection is quite bad. Is it back? I can't really hear much that you just be ashamed of. Are we back? I can't hear. No? I think there may be a network issue. Hello? Are we back? No, okay. Hello? I think the audio is out on your side, sir. Can you hear me on my side? Yeah? Can't hear him, sir. Okay. 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 Audio is gone, but screen is clear. Okay. I think he had a connection problem. I'll get him back on right now. Okay. Let him log out and come back. Yep, he'll be back on any minute. I need a charger as well, please. He'll be back on any minute. I think he's just sorting out his sound. But guys, I hope you are all taking notes. I think this is the meat of the conversation. This issue of tribalism, cultural tension, and religion. Like I said before, I called it a big evil. And I think that it's something that hinders a lot of... careful, please. Yeah. It's not charging. I think it's something that is a big evil in Nigeria. Okay, he's back. He's back. He's back. Let's get him back on. And here, what he has to say, because I think that's Nigeria's biggest problem. Okay, you're back. Okay.
Social media. And sometimes I find myself in the midst of I mean, people who have these ideas, you understand? People who come from the north will be expecting you to be loyal to everything they come with. Mm-hmm. And people from the south will be expecting you to always be neutral, even or wrong about what they're saying. You understand? So yeah. I've severally found myself in a crossfire, especially on Twitter, because I do not compromise a bit of my principles when it comes to this tribalism and ethnicity. You understand? So we really need to be able to know that we are human beings first, and we are Nigerians. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, when you look at this country's history, you will know that Nigeria is not going to be divided. It's not separating. So the sooner we know, the better. Because when we do not understand that, we are going to keep allowing tribalism and ethnicity to be dragging us backwards.
Yeah.
While other countries are busy trying to produce and export things, we are busy trying to make peace between one another, and we don't need that. We don't need it at all.
Yeah, and I think that's what the British, as much as they did to Nigeria, I think that's what they tried to do. I think Nigeria was, of course, divided heavily in the north, the south. There's different kings, different different cultures.
It is not only
the British tried their best to synergize everybody. Like I said before, places like Sokoto in itself was a nation. South was like their own country. The Biafra, we remember the war. But the British came and they tried to make, everybody work in sync with each other. But of course, over time, these tensions always come back up, and then of course
at that time we were united under the British flag, under the British crown. And that's why we spoke English. I mean, if you feel you can't speak Hausa, or you can't speak Yoruba or Igbo or any other language, at least you can speak English. So English is what united us. And we stood up and agitated that these British people must leave, and we want to rule ourselves. And they left. And once they left, we started fighting each other. So can we also say that maybe Nigeria was not ready for independence by 1960? Perhaps it is not. You understand? Perhaps because our first generational leaders, the Sardaunas, the Balewas, the Awolos, the Azikwes, and the rest of them, you understand? They made honest mistakes. These are mistakes that they made because they were not experienced. There was nobody there to learn from. You understand? Everything they did, they believed were in the best interest of Nigeria and Nigerians. And they never foresaw a federal Nigeria. They saw a regional Nigeria. So they were thinking in a regional way. You understand? So you cannot blame any of them for being biased at that time concerning his or her region. But this is a Nigeria that is now federal. You understand?
Because Nigeria actually used to operate a parliamentary system.
Exactly.
So you're right in saying that at the time, what they were doing was in the best interest for their constituency. Okay.
Bro, it's not just a parliamentary system, but a regional parliamentary system. Regional, where we have Northern Premier, we have Eastern Premier, Southern Premier, and so on. So that the system itself divided the country. But here we have as united the country. I believe that even the so-called indigenship should be abolished. A citizen should be able to reside everywhere, should be able to contest everywhere, should be able to be Nigerian. You understand? Citizenship above indigenship. So this generation of ours will have to start thinking beyond the boundaries of ethnicity, religiosity, and I mean tribalism. Yeah, exactly. So, and thirdly, you know, I started talking about corruption. I didn't finish. You see, it has become like a necessary evil to a Nigerian citizen. Believe me, you. Yeah, believe me, you. You understand? Nigeria is one of the few countries where corruption can be justified. You understand? By the corrupt person. I don't believe it's justifiable, because no matter what, you shouldn't be.
I think the connection is going off again. Please keep me updated. Okay. Are you back?
I'm back. So, you know, let me tell you, there are many Nigerians that are involved into corrupt practices without even knowing they are doing corruption. Why? Because it has become a norm. That's one. Number two, if you look at the economic aspect, the wages that are given to workers are not enough to cover their costs. They are not even realistic. You understand? So if the wages are not realistic, how do you expect somebody to survive? And in Nigeria, you're not only talking about survival, you are looking at those obligations that have been put upon you by family, friends, and communities. You understand? When you come from a community, when you come from a family, when you come from a society, they expect you to give back through your earnings. And your earnings are not even enough for you. And they're expecting you to give back. So which means you have to go extra mile to be able to meet those obligations. So by going extra mile, you get into corruption. You understand? So corruption becomes something that is unavoidable. I'm telling you. You understand? I'm not the type who will sit down now and tell you that I've never been involved. How did you survive? People will lie to you. Listen to them. They will lie. They will tell you I've never. One way or another, you can't help it. You have to survive. You know, there's a thing.
It's part of the system.
Yes,
so knowingly or unknowingly, you're taking part.
You will be part. Yeah, you understand? And there's this saying that, you know, you leave the small fish because you want to catch the big fish. You will never catch the big fish unless sometimes you do something wrong. You understand? So, and a lot of people think that Africans are corrupt. Some Africans even believe that we are inherently corrupt. It's a lie. You understand? Bring a white man to Africa. Bring a white man to Africa. He will break the rules. Why? Because you know, there are no laws, strict laws. You know, the law is not really enforced as the way it's supposed to be. You understand? When you bring a white man to Nigeria, he can break the traffic and pass. But you are now a Nigerian in Britain. Can you break the traffic rule, or can you even drive a car without a registration? You can't do that.
You can't,
because the system is checking you. You understand? So for corruption to be fought, it goes beyond arresting and you know, catching people and stuff. It goes beyond that. It goes into improving the social welfare of our people.
Wow. I mean, thank you very much. Time has been extremely well spent. This discussion has been very informative, very educative. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody watching has learned a lot. The guys on Zoom had to come off before, but they watched the first session and it was amazing. I mean, there's so much to learn from you, your insights, your upbringing, your family is politically involved, but I think you've carved out your own niche in politics, and I believe that definitely you are one for the future. And I believe that everybody on this platform would definitely agree that you are one for the future. So thank you very much for coming
Thank
on
you very
today.
much, brother.
And I would definitely want us to come on again at some point and have this discussion. And I would definitely want us to have some sort of synergy to work together to build a better Nigeria for our youth. So thank you once again, and thank you everybody
No
watching.
problem. I'm looking forward. Thank you very much for having me, Daniel.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. An amazing conversation. Thank you all for joining. I learned a lot, and I hope you all did. I hope you all did learn a lot. You know, he's definitely one for the future, and I believe that with people like him in government, we would definitely be able to make a lot of changes. So thank you all.